It's a great pleasure and a great honor to be invited here and to talk about food. And I'm going to talk about seafood for the most part. But first, I've asked BBC to help me a little bit and just to get you in the right mood here. So let's get going.
Imagine this apple represents our planet. I want to show you the tiny amount of land we've got to grow our food on. First, I've got to get rid of 3/4 of this apple. Now this is all the oceans and the seas. Next to go are the areas that we can't farm. Places like deserts, mountains, and of course, towns and cities. And this is what we're left with. You've got to imagine that this is the area of the earth that we've got to grow all our food on. But in fact, this small sliver represents the soil we've got to grow our food in. And we've got to feed nearly 7 billion people with it.
Then it's back to the issue. GCI consists of 15 companies, and it's a CEO-driven initiative where we all believe and think that we in fact can produce food in the ocean. If we go back a few thousand years, all of us would have been hunting and fishing. The agricultural revolution came around 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 years ago, and we started to be able to put food on the table every single day. Until 45 years ago, we were still out there catching fish. And sometimes we got fish, and sometimes we didn't. The big difference here is that in the future, we need to use the 75% of the planet that consists of water. And today, we produce about 7% of the protein that we consume in the ocean, and 2% of the food that we eat is produced in the ocean. This is a great opportunity, and it's a great responsibility for us that are CEOs in these companies. In these 15 companies, we represent 70% of the world's salmon production. And we've decided to work together on issues where we can do better together. One good thing about fish, we just heard from the professor at Harvard that fish is good in terms of climate change and the environmental impact. A sheer fact is that 14% of the climate gases comes from transportation. 14% of the climate gases also comes from agriculture and especially production of beef. So those numbers are similar. If we, by one clear decision, eat a little bit more fish here, we will also change the world this way. In GSI, we have acknowledged that we will be 9 billion people in 2050, if we are lucky. If we continue the same way that we do today, the demand for protein will increase with 70%. And the wild catch is, for the most part, overexploited. So there is not a solution there. Our mission is to work on the topics around sustainability. I will get back to them. It's a work around cooperation, and it's also important that what we do, we actually report on. We've all adhered to a standard called ASC, the Atlantic Salmon, or ASC is the Atlantic Salmon Standard, which is the toughest in the industry. This standard is made up by NGOs, it's made up by big retailers, and it's made up by science and also in cooperation with industry. And that is a great way to work. We've said that all of our farms will be certified within 2020. So a major change in the way of producing fish. In terms of what we are working on, we're working on solving issues that we know we have. We are a young industry. Sea lice, diseases are issues in a new way of growing food. We acknowledge that, and we want to change it. We know that feed resources are a challenge in terms of producing fish. There's no more wild fish out there to put into fish feed. We need to go lower into the nutritional value chain, look into microalgae, look into waste of fish that's used for human consumption, and also use vegetables in fish feed. Remember, salmon is much, much more efficient energetically in terms of converting this into protein. What we are doing is we have put working groups together in all these fields, working on finding out what the different companies are doing and taking out the best practice, finding solutions and implementing them. The companies that's in this business is located in Chile, in Canada, in Ireland, Faroe Islands, Shetland, in Norway, and Scotland mainland, and as well as actually now in New Zealand. So it's a global approach where we actually can make a change in a new industry that wasn't possible 2,000-3,000 years ago when we started with agriculture. Implementing change. It's easy to say that we are going to change the world and change the way we're doing business. But if we are not able to implement change and take into account the best practices, this will not go forward. For us, that is a major project. And we, by having the CEO leading this along and having working groups reporting directly to the CEOs, it is accountability here is much, much quicker and better than in any project I've been working on. I think Jason Clay, the Vice President of WWF, which is one of our partners in this, has said it pretty good here. This is a game changer. The salmon sector working together and embracing sustainability is going to radically change aquaculture. I think also, in fact, that the food industry can learn from this in a bigger sense. We're also working with FAO and would like to put some of our knowledge into projects in Africa and other places where you can see the benefit from the technology we have developed in salmon aquaculture. These are the companies participating in this initiative. And with that, I will say thank you.